Whatever I think I can see from above the surface always pales in comparison to what's really going on. So I took my camera out to where I knew there were some large trout and dropped it down right in front of them to see what they were up to. And I think it really helped me understand how to fish for them better. So I hope you enjoy the footage, or this gives you some ideas for your next trip. So we're gonna start in this spot where there was a big fallen tree across the river, and I saw a trout right by the shore. So I tried to get the camera right in front of it, and it didn't get scared by the camera at all, which I was pretty surprised. But it felt really safe right there, right behind that fallen log. And I think it was just looking down there for some food. Because I would imagine any kind of structure like that, they're gonna be aquatic insects, and they're probably getting washed out. And it was just looking for those. You could see it move back there a second ago, but I was like 2 feet away from it. Got some amazing footage of it. And it looks like it's fairly active. So even though it's in one spot, it's looking around. You can see it moving its head back and forth. But yeah, they just sit there and they wait for stuff to go by them. So that's something to keep in mind when you're fishing for them. Speaking of fishing, if you can see those weeds right there, I thought that was a fish from up above, but that's actually some fishing line with a bunch of weeds stuck to maybe a fly or something. And then you can see a bunch of fish behind there, and we'll get to them in a second. But I had no idea they were even there. So on the other side of this log, I did see another fish hanging out, and it was kind of near to the surface. So I could see like 2 of those guys, but then you can see some smaller fish along the bottom, and then a third fish comes up, and they're hanging out in front of that log. But then look at this massive pot of fish just sitting there in a tiny area. I thought there was like one fish, but then when I moved closer, you could see them all scurry out, and I don't even know, I don't know how many that was, but they move over to that other log when they see the camera and try to count those. I think there's at least 10 though, and those are huge. Some of those are like over 18 inches. That one in the front looks like it's the biggest, but then when they scurry out, you can see one little one on the bottom gets like pushed down, and it looked like there was a little shadow there, and maybe that was just a very safe spot where they felt like they were secure. But that was some insane footage that I did not expect. By the way, these guys told me that they want to be famous, and if you don't hit the like button on this video, they're gonna tell all their buddies never to hit your bait again. So consider this a warning. So one thing that trout really consistently do is they're gonna face upstream if they're in a river, and they're gonna be looking for anything passing by that might be food. So this trout right here on the left, you can see its tail, and I was trying to get it on the camera, and it was sitting behind this log, and I think it was using that as a little bit of cover, but it was only about a foot from the surface, so it was pretty close to the surface. And then you can see a little tiny trout down at the bottom, and that was probably just trying to hide out and looking for food on the bottom. And this brook trout is also near the bottom. So the fish were kind of in different depths. There was one near the surface and then one near the bottom there. So you can always try different depths. Here's a bigger trout, and you can see a huge one back there. But this trout was just sitting here right on the bottom. And it was probably looking for food, or maybe it was just conserving energy. But I actually did capture it eating right there. And I had to really zoom in on it and slow down to see exactly what it was eating, because I wanted to see that. And you can see it's actually eating a small piece of grass that's coming by. So they're eating stuff that they think is going to be food. And it turns out they actually do eat some grass. And I'm not sure if it ate that because it was trying to get nutrients from the grass, or if it thought that was a bug, or maybe there are small bugs and nutrients inside that. But that gives you an idea of what they're eating. And that was the only time I saw that one eat. The whole time it was holding down there, but it's barely moving. Oh, here's a brook trout, and that's moving along in the same depth. So right up next to that guy, it just cozied up to it. And I thought that was cool to see those guys in proportion, because you can tell that's a pretty big trout. It's probably an 18-incher or so, and it doesn't have to expend any energy right there. It's just sitting in a little pocket of the current. And see, this brook trout, when it's moving laterally, it's moving its fins a lot more. So I kind of noticed that when they can hold in a lane like that big trout, they're not having to expend any energy. But when they're moving side to side, like those two guys that are kind of cozied up and they're being very social, they move a lot more. So I thought that was a pretty interesting shot, and you can see the different movement of the different types of trout. So if you like watching fish underwater, you should check out my Patreon, because I'm adding more content on there all the time. For only $5 a month, you get full access, and you can help support the channel and make these videos possible. There's a link in the description for that, and also for my Everything Underwater playlist, which has every single underwater video on the channel so far. And if you want more trout tips, underwater footage, and more, click subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.